What's up everybody, my name is Pippin Henderson. Welcome back, thank you very much for joining me. Today I want to show you how to add samples to a drum project. This method obviously works with anything that you want to add samples to, but it works particularly well with drums. So, how do you go about doing it? Now that I'm working specifically within Cakewalk, but this obviously translates to any DAW, but the way you go about doing this within those different DAWs will obviously differ. So please bear that in mind. But this is how I go about doing it inside Cakewalk. There's probably 1,000 different other ways of doing this, and there's probably a much quicker way of doing this. I'm not saying this is the only way to do it, but this is my way of doing it. So that being said, let's zoom in on this kick drum. What you want to do is you want to come over here to where it says clips, and you want to click audio transients. Click inside the track and you're going to bring up this audio snap window, and you want to play around with this threshold, and what it does is it's going to pick up the audio transients within this track, which is good, but sometimes it can be a bit overzealous and it wants to pick up more than it should. So you want to raise this threshold and you only have selected the audio transients you want. That looks pretty good, and you just want to go along the track and make sure, like here for instance, it's picked up the correct audio transient, but then the one right next to it, we don't want that. So just up the threshold slightly and it'll get rid of that for us, and that looks pretty good. So once you've gone along your whole track and you're happy with that, you want to make sure that the track is selected and come over here to where it says audio snap split beats into clips, and when you click it, it'll do just that. We can exit out of this now. Make sure that you turn this back into clips so you can select, and it literally just slices up all those transients you've selected into different clips. And this is going to allow us or help us to add those samples in. With our sample window open, it's a kick drum, so I want to add the I want a kick sample, drag it into our project. I'm going to move this up underneath our kick drum that we are adding it to, and then I'm going to move this into position, into that first sample, into that first transient. Once I've done that, I'm going to name this kick sample, and then I'm going to select the first clip in the live kick track. I want to make sure that it's at the beginning, and then I want to make sure that even though I've selected the clip within the live kick track, as you can see it's highlighted, I want to make sure that the actual track is selected here of the sample, and it'll make sense in a second. First things first, you want to copy this kick sample with Control C, okay, and then select the clip of the live drum, make sure that you've got this selected, and then you can tab through all the different transients that we have sliced up. But because we have this track selected, when we Control V, if we tab to the next transient, we can Control V and it's going to copy that sample into the next transient. And we simply just go along, tab, Control V, tab, Control V. Just like that. All the way to the end. Or all the way to wherever it is you want that sample to go. Sometimes you only want a sample to be introduced in a chorus bit or in a verse or in a particular middle eight or something, just to give it some emphasis. And you do it for as long as that. It can be a very long process, and I'm sure there's a quicker way of doing this. But I like doing this because it just gives me a little bit more control. I know that if I'm missing a transient, I'll be able to see it. So this is the way I prefer to do it. It's just it takes a little more time, but sometimes putting in that little bit more effort will give you better rewards, because you're making sure you're not missing any transients, you're not missing any samples that need to be in there. And that's pretty much it. And then it's just a matter of, let's loop this. And then it's just a case of blending them all together. obviously just blend it how you want it to sound. Obviously this is adding probably a little bit more bottom, so you could probably bring down the original down maybe. I don't know, it depends. It's completely your preference, but that's how I go about adding drum samples into this. The same thing can work with a snare, so let's just quickly do it with the snare top maybe. So again, clips, audio transients, click inside the track, mess with the threshold, only get those transients in that you want to be affected or sliced. Make sure the track is selected. Click the audio snap split beats into clips. Exit out of that. Make sure you come back into clips so you can select the clips. Audio library. You can come over here to a snare sample. Move this into position. Just like that. And we can Control C to copy that sample. Select the first clip. Make sure our track is selected, and then simply Tab, Control V. Make sure this is to our snare bus, and then we can just blend this in. Let's loop it. It's as simple as that, and you can have so much fun with this. Yeah, so that's how I go about adding samples in. Sometimes you can have more than one sample for the same instrument. So for instance, you can have 2 or 3 different samples for a snare, and you can blend them all together. Only bring one in on a chorus, a different one onto a verse. You can have loads of fun with it. This is how I approach this situation inside Cakewalk. How you go about doing that inside your DAW will obviously be dependent on its features. So you may have to look into it if you're working in a different DAW. I hope you guys have found this useful. Just a quick one today. If you have any other suggestions for tutorials, please let me know. If you liked it, please like and subscribe and click that notification button, and I will see you very shortly in the next video. Take care of yourselves. Thanks very much. Bye bye.